And we're live. You lot asked for this. I've delivered. We've got the legend that is Clive Palmer. How you doing, my friend? You all right?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm great, man. Not too much, as I was saying, in terms of the transfer business, but I'm sure we'll get over the line, man. And I'm excited, man, because my guest is a great one. As you already know yourself, you do a lot of good stuff. My fans have been asking me to get you on this platform, so I'm happy to deliver, man. I'm happy to deliver. If I'm honest with you, man. We've got a
You
lot
have
to go.
fans. Oh wow.
Not as much as you, man.
May I stay at the comments? It keeps my brain sane. It's good.
Oh man. The first thing I want to ask you before we get into, Sesko and Gyokeres and what you'd prefer and how you think
Mm.
that's panning out and potential transfer anxiety, I want to go back to the season that's just gone. And if I bring this on screen, like it's a good way of me to just see where your thoughts are at.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the 2024-25 season wrapped up, we've got player of the season, young player of the season, most improved, unsung hero, disappointment, performance, and goal of the season, and season out of 10. So I want to start from the bottom to the top. What would you give Arsenal's season out of 10 now that we've got time to reflect, Clive?
Yeah, and you're right. That time to reflect is important. We get a little bit excited, don't we, when we're in the middle of games and we can see things happening around the league. You can see our competitive landscape doing things, not doing things. So we compare and contrast, right? So it's very hard to get those emotions under control, right? Because we're football fans, right? And emotion is part of what we do. But when the season's over, you sort of have a bit of time to think, and some of the feedback that gets you wound up during the season, you re-listen to it and think, actually, they may have a point.
They might be right.
Did we get a bit stale? Did we have we lost a little bit of creativity? Have we become predictable? And then there's a decision you have to make, right? And as you try to explain it in your mind, which I do all the time, and I'm sure you do with your community and audience, you can quickly cross that line into explaining into are these excuses, right? So, for me personally, I think they're explanations, right? So, I'll give you an example, quick example. I posted a video of Gabriel Jesus, highlight video yesterday. I just sent it out. And mate, he was twisting everyone's blood. You know what I mean? Their socks are falling off the lot. He was just
Resilience, as I say with him.
it was thinking over their head. Cruyff turned, and I'm looking at this compilation. I'm thinking, everyone says we got no creativity. Everyone says that we're looking quite stale. Well, actually, we bought this guy to be the guy, to be the nine, to be the center point of what we do. We play the ball into him, and things would change that perspective, and he would create something in essential areas. We all know he can't finish that well, but we get a lot of individualism. And so, what do we talk about now, DG? We're saying things like, we need some mavericks, we need some creators, but we had one, but he hasn't really been present. And I think maybe if you want to critique Arsenal, have we spent too long waiting for him? Eventually, now we've lost him for another 9 months. And now we're left with a team that maybe needs to renew in those areas, So I look at the season and it did feel to me like what could go wrong did go wrong, and that's what it felt like. And
Yep.
it's just every time, you're playing well, you're beating Crystal Palace, Saka's hamstring goes, Odegaard plays against Brighton, gets a little bit injured, goes away at national break, losing for 10, 12 games. And you think, oh, hold on a minute, that's who we are on that right-hand side. Then you lose Ben White 4 or 5 months, lose him, and when he come back, he wasn't right. And you think about the core pillars of your team, and they just haven't been present, right? So we're judging something that's been incomplete, and we've been making do, until the final coup de grace. We end up in a Champions League semi-final with a centre midfielder playing centre forward.
Crazy.
Right? So you can say it's an excuse. We should have reacted. We could have bought these players in January. They're absolutely right. Of course they're right, because what happened was we played PSG with a centre mid up front. So when that happens, you're open to criticism, But I can also think actually where we ended up and how the manager coached us to compete against PSG, that's also a positive on the positive side.
Facts.
Right. So I'm hoping lessons have been learned and we can just learn those lessons now. Of course, I'm sure, like me and your audience, are looking at that transfer market, mate. Look at those rumors saying, chop, chop, we need to start moving. Because I'm not going for this next year. And that's where my head is at the moment.
Clive, I think you articulated it perfectly. If I had to ask you, just because you got the creative juices flowing in my mind, yeah, what do you make of our creativity? Because I do think Mikel Arteta, I'm a bit different to most people. I don't sign up to this boring notion and we're negative and things. And I think if
Yeah,
people have that to say, then they've got to accept that's what's got us to this point where, fair enough, nobody's happy about being second, but we're second, we're competitive, we're not getting embarrassed in Europe. Our top six record is immaculate. And Mikel Arteta kind of micromanages and kind of, it's almost like he predicts every solution going into a game and kind of stifles the opposition. That being said, though, when I look at 2020, the 2022-23 season, how good we was going forward and what's to come, do you feel
yeah.
like we're probably a bit too scripted? Like, do you think he needs to loosen up like the shackles, I guess, in a creative sense, for these creative players?
For me, a couple of things, right? So it depends what you like in your football. So when we create in wide areas and we go out to Saka, go out to Martinelli, they beat their man, we do our stuff, we come back inside and we score. A year or so ago, we scored 89 points, 91 goals, right? Most goals we've ever scored. With this same group of players, we all know Saka's not been that fit, not been that sharp. So he's not really ripping people like he was before he got the injury. Martinelli's been a bit flat. Trossard's been a bit in and out. Jesus hasn't been there. Havertz out. And so you have to say to yourself that maybe we're squeezing as much as we can out of this group. My personal view is if we're going to have a system that has almost like double false nines, whatever you want to call it, double tens, with wide men that we put a lot of onus on, then invest in your system. So make
Yeah,
sure that you have more than one devastating wide man. Make sure you have many options in those areas. So if you want to be that team, then create depth so you can be that team every single week, or you can rest the people that are really critical. Saka's played over 15,000 minutes. I'm not comfortable with that. Even though every week I go to the games, and if he's not on the team sheet, I'm upset, right? So, but let's be real. We have that guy's career in our hands, and he's played a lot of minutes. And for me, we need to make sure we can manage him appropriately. And so I'm okay with how we play. I would just like to have more depth in attack, a bit of variation that will come with different quality of players that bring new skill sets. As soon as we have that, I think we'll rejuvenate our midfielders because they see different movements, different runs. The pattern and the way the guy coaches has got us here, right? So
exactly.
when we get to that last third, have we got enough people that make you excited when the ball hits their feet? If a shot's not on, can they create their own shot? And we all know the
Can they
one
make
that
their own
can.
luck?
Yeah, exactly. We all know the one that can. We all know him. We know who he is. We need a couple more like that. So I started with Jesus, and I know he's not the player he was, but you can see what he brought, that same type of skill set. We know the guard was firing and taking a move and not looking for a reverse pass, but taking the shot. Then you start to see the outcome and the output. So I think some of this is coaching. Some of this is emphasis on messaging from the coach to the players. I think we need to be a little bit more goal-centric. We were unable to do that last year because we didn't have the goal scorers available. You lost 4-4s at one time. So you are now in
Crazy.
a different place, right? So yeah, I want to see a slight tweak in emphasis in how we go about our business. First 10 minutes hard, go attack. Control the flow of the game, that type of thing. I can say this now because I just watched every home game this year. And I know exactly what we did and didn't do, but it's all in hindsight. But it's okay, right? We're fans and we're in that reflective period.
Just
We
the
haven't got,
that's the climate we're at. Yeah.
yeah, we're reflecting. So now it's about who do we want to change our day, right? And we've all got our thoughts. I just saw a comment go through about Eze.
I love him, to be fair.
Yeah, and he answers a lot of those questions, right? So yeah, then we're going to argue about which one. I'm not having Lippman, by the way. But
Oh, we'll get into that because I'm a Lookman fan, man. The first thing you probably disagree about.
and so yeah, so that's where I am really.
You're right. Based on what you said there, yeah, like because I do look at Arteta, and I do feel you need a cool head where you look at Mikel Arteta. No man or woman on this earth is without faults. I think there's a lot to like about him when you isolate Mikel Arteta. I'd say the biggest thing is his passion. Whether you go to the games or you watch the interviews, it's his passion. It's his ability to think on the fly. It actually is his ability to micromanage. But do you think he needs to deviate away from the script potentially? Because there were times where Arsenal fans probably had running jokes that we knew we weren't seeing subs before the 85th minute. We knew if we weren't getting any change necessarily at our right-hand side, we're kind of predictable. At a point towards the end of the season, I felt we only really saw third man runs on a consistent basis from Declan Rice. It's kind of easy to suss us out, like even with the low blocks things. I think when you've got like a way of playing and you've had a distinctive brand for years of how you want to do things, and yeah, you've loosely adapted. I think the catch-22 is teams kind of do find you out. So, like, do you think Mikel Arteta has to evolve in his own right as a coach?
Yeah, there are games that stick in your mind, right? So, Bayern Munich away, Champions League quarterfinal. Remember that one?
Yeah,
When they played Mazwari and another left back. I can't remember his name now. They played two left backs basically, and they marked Saka hard, right? And so that told me straight away we have a problem because everyone knows where we're going, right? So what we've done this year, okay, well, that side of the pitch has been injured, but they stood in there anyway. Let us go wide, and then when we come inside, they kick our legs off, right? So and that's what's been happening. So we haven't got enough diversity of attack. You see what I mean? And we haven't got enough where you say, I'm just using this name as an example, but if you had Leao on the left-hand side, you can't triple Saka as well, because when we switch to point of attack,
he ain't got the numbers to do that.
You better get over the other side real quick because he's gonna burn you. And so, have we got enough, of that? I don't think we have, and I'm not the only person to think that. It's just obvious.
I think every Arsenal fan, Clive,
yeah.
does
When you sit there and watch it, you can't wait for the ball to get to Saka. Can it get there? What do you think other teams are going to do? They're going to kick him. They're going to let him. They're going to let him have it, right? So he was managing that. But we all knew there was a moment he was going to get injured, and we're actually quite lucky it's not more serious than what it actually was.
Thank the Lord.
And so, yeah, we could have been ACL. Come on, you know the rules, right?
God forbid.
His load and numbers were saying ACL, aren't they? They really were. So, in some ways, he got a chance to rest and you rejuvenate over the summer and train on. I'm not, like I say, I'm okay with our play style. I generally am. I just want to see a little bit more edge to us. There's another moment that told me about ourselves. It was the PSG away game.
Oh man!
And the first 25 minutes of that game was like, wow.
I knew he was going to say that.
Look at this level. Look at this level. We are absolutely pinning them. We're controlling them in open play. We're controlling them in set pieces. They're petrified. They're in their box there. They are hanging on.
Donnarumma's having a blinder.
That's the best team in Europe, right? And we had them beat. We had them creaking. So although we all critique the team, some shout louder than others, we all have the same thoughts, just about how you articulate those thoughts.
Facts.
But I think back to that game, and I think this team could not do any more than that apart from take that chance, and even in the first game, there was chances there that were high quality efforts on goal. The goalkeeper saved. So he makes 5 big chance saves, the 2 ties, right? And there are probably other things that we miss, Saka over the bar, etc. So that's our level. That level is top. And we are not complete. That is without a Havertz, without a fit Saka, with Odegaard in a different season, with a centre mid up front, and this is not a complete team, so, but it's on its way. And when it does complete itself, that's the level we can reach. And so I'm holding on to that, but if you put the 2 games together, the Bayern and the PSG game, they tell you what we need to do.
Exactly.
So be more efficient for PSG. For Bayern, make sure people don't know where you're going to go. So if that needs a bit more freedom to Saka, whatever you decide tactically, I'm sure you got ideas, do whatever you need to do so that we can't be stopped so easily like that.
What do you make of us in terms of creativity from central regions then? Because I know Rice makes the run. We all know what Odegaard does. We know, it'll probably be Zubimendi soon, but Partey in the 6. Do you think we're getting enough out of central regions in an attacking sense?
I think people are cottoned onto that because there's lots of good analysis out there that says we vacate those areas. And we tend to attack we have a couple of major principles, right? So we have 4 lines of attack. So from the back to the front, make sure we have 4 lines. Our goalkeeper comes into our back line to make sure we have an overload so we can build up. And then when we go to wide areas, we attack in pods of 3. So these are our key principles, right? There's one thing that I think's not working as well as it could do, but maybe it's by design, right? So when Odegaard drops away from the front line to get involved in build-ups and stands next to Partey, is that required? I'm not sure. Sometimes maybe it is to control the pace of the game, stick 10 passes together, control momentum. But sometimes stay high. And
Yeah,
he has a
gamble.
tendency to follow the ball. So if the ball's back there, he'll come and get it. Have you ever played with people just like to have touches? They like to have a touch to feel they're in the game. We've all played those guys. When they
Yeah,
have 50 touches, 45 of those touches may not be that effective, but that player feels connected. And he might be the player that does something special for you. But if he's
facts.
disconnected from the game, we can't find him. Then he gets hooked. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah,
Odegaard likes to feel connected to the game. So he has touches, but by relieving that area, we lack centrality. We lack presence in there. So if he stays in there, it might be a bit more physical for him. But it's important he stays there so we can get. He's our second striker, number 10. Is it 3 goals this year, DG? Three
yeah.
goals? That's not
You should
really
be getting more.
enough. He should be getting more, right? It should be 8 to 10. And that's cool. Yeah, that's all we need. So you have to ask yourself a question, change of message. You are our playmaker, point guard, whatever you want to call it. But mate, I need 8 to 10 goals. If I tell you that, where are you going to stand? Next to party or higher up?
Edge of
You
the
know,
area.
so
That
you're gonna
trademark
stay
Odegaard
there.
finish we became accustomed to.
So it's just simple messaging. You know, the talent's there, right? But simple messaging is what we need to change so we get more out of those players in those areas.
I think you're bang on. So, what do you make generally? I know throughout the time of Mikel Arteta being here, I'd say within the last 3 years, this has been where we've been expected, or people have had this assumption that we're going to win Prems and be in champs and do the rest of it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had to kind of reset our foundation. We had to get the goalies, we had to get the centre mids, we had to do the defenders. But then when you look at our attacking investment, it's not, I wouldn't ask you if you've got concerns, but is that an area where it feels like a mixed bag from Mikel Arteta? Because I can't think of too many players he's brought in an attacking sense that have done well. Like obviously Jesus until he got injured for Brazil. I think Trossard's done well. Fair enough, Kai Havertz and Marino have gone up front and done well, but they were initially centre mids. You could argue the best attackers we had were the ones at the club. Oh, well, he did bring in Odegaard, but Martinelli and Saka were already here. Like,
Yeah.
where are you at with that?
Yeah, I think he hasn't really invested those areas. So he brought Trossard in, who's done much better than I expected. Jesus, we know about. If one of my, and it's difficult, right? So
Very.
what have we done? We've changed the culture in the club. We reconnected to the fans in the main. We're less divisive than we used to be back in the day.
Competitive again.
We're competitive again at top level. We haven't lost a top 6 game for 3 years, maybe.
Hopefully he still runs.
Yeah, and so we're there. We're a serious team now. We know we're serious because people talk about us all the time. So every time we don't do something right, we get told about it. And so that means we're back. When people ignore you, apathy is the worst emotion of all. That means we're back now. So so for me, I just think it's time to think about it slightly differently. So for Arteta now, has he held on to people too long? And by that I mean stayed with them. So Eddie Nketiah, for example, could he have gone a little bit sooner? We all knew he was a good player, but we all knew he was never going to take us to the promised land, right? So could that have happened sooner? But he's loyal, right? So that's part of the culture that he has. You do for me, I do for you. Jesus, maybe last summer was the time to lose him. You know, the injury record was showing. He's on 200 plus a week, 45 mil. Was that the time last summer to take a sale and then renewing that space? Right. So what happened? No, he worked with him. He got him back firing, scores the goals against Palace, goes to Man United, does an ACL.
Yeah.
Now, I can say this because I didn't know he was going to do an ACL, but we sort of knew he's quite injury prone. You know, so do we make, if we've got a critique in hindsight, is he almost too low? But that's part of what he's done, right? He's built a culture of the players. Yeah, the players love the environment. You can see it. They're a close-knit group. They're a family group. You don't
never
do
down
that.
tools for all the sacking talk about Arteta.
Exactly. And so that's part of what he's grown. So that's just my gut feel, because I had an inkling. Sometimes you got to sell somebody while it still hurts you, you know, while we would argue about it. So if Jesus went last summer, there might have been arguments about it. That's probably good, you know, because that means that he'd be good for the club he goes to. We would have got a good number and we can argue about it. If we get somebody else in better, then we're all good, right? So when someone leaves us, they tend to leave when it's obvious. which means you don't get competitive prices, which you can't reinvest. And so sometimes, losing Eddie earlier, although he got a good number for Eddie in the end, would have been good for us, and people were arguing whether he was good enough or not. Good. That's where we want to be. We want to be having those discussions, those debates.
Facts.
Why are we selling that guy now? There's still a bit more we can get, but you need to sell him early so you can get your full remuneration, your money back, and then you can reinvest it. And that's what it's all about. So that's where my head is at the moment. With one little critique there, we may be too loyal to some of our subjects when we know that maybe there are injury issues or maybe quality issues. But that's what coaches do, right? They think they can fix the world. I'm the same. I can fix any player. So,
Especially when you like them as well. Yeah,
yeah,
you're never going to
exactly.
give up on them quite.
It's really hard to just give up on them, right?
Clive, I think you're bang on the money, because I know it's difficult not to get attached to footballers and not to have an air of romance around football. But I do think the same. I always say I've got the love I have for Kai Havertz and actually Martinelli. I actually like them a lot. And I think if we want to stay in this place where, as disingenuous as it might be to say, we win a lot of battles, but not necessarily the war, like the top 6 record, finishing second, good nights out like against Madrid, but we don't necessarily get over the line. I think we've got enough. Obviously, if we want to get to the next level, then these players might have to be sold or become squad players to give us that depth we spoke about, and just simply get players who can upgrade us. So then I have to ask you about Kai Havertz. Like, as I said, I like him. I don't necessarily think we should have bought him. I do think he's scapegoated. I think he's a lot better than people give it credit for. But based on what you're saying, I was just thinking Kai Havertz, because I think Mikel Arteta is loyal to Kai, and we hear about how good he is in training and all of those kind of things. Do you think that could be something, especially where the striker kind of debates at? Like, will he have to move on from Kai Havertz, or is that kind of something in your thinking?
Well, fair enough. We need 2 strikers, don't we? We need 2 centre forwards, right? So, and if you have somebody that plays like Kai, a bit more of an all-round centre forward, he drops in, he can spin down the side. He's not super quick, but he's definitely someone that fills in gaps. I really like him. I think he's tactically a fantastic player.
I've got time for him, yeah.
I really like him, honestly. Maybe first impressions count. The first time I saw him was live at the Community Shield against Man City. I thought he did really, really well. People focused on the 2 chances that he missed, but I saw those defenders falling to the ground when he was near him, and I thought, you know what, you've got something. If anything, it took too long to get him to centre forward for Arsenal.
Yeah.
That was probably, in hindsight, again, that was the issue. But once he went to centre forward in January 2024, we won 16 out of 18 games. So that's the best version of Arteta's Arsenal I've seen. We've got centre forwards like him up front. So my view was always get somebody like him, maybe a bit more dynamic, and that was always my view. And so whoever comes in, they're going to share that role, because it's a high sprint, high responsible position, and no one can do 59 games, particularly in World Cup year, when you're properly playing for your national team. If you want to be in the team, so when he goes away for Germany, he's going to be playing properly, right? So, and the same for whoever we get in, right? They're going to be playing properly because they want to stay in the team, etc. So we have to think about the volume of games we're going to have, and make sure we have 2 players for that position minimum. With Marino now, he says, half smiling, we got 3, right? So we can end games with Marino maybe on occasions to save legs. We've had Trossard in there. One centre forward, and make that role a bit more depth around it. But that centre forward's got to be a runner. You know that really, DG. It's got to be a runner. Got to be somebody really dynamic with hard shoot.
Got to be a sacrificial lamb for the team. You got to drop deep, work the channels and the rest of it, and somehow still score.
Yeah, gotta go. Personally, I like Sesko, but it doesn't really worry me too much. But I like Sesko a bit more.
Same.
But that dynamism is important, so we can get out of jail late in games, we can get up the pitch, and I think it's important. So it's coming our way, and I think this team needs it. I also think we need it as fans, because we're getting I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think I'm getting a bit bored of the patterns. Do you know what I mean? I need somebody to come along.
I second that.
And it doesn't mean I'm not saying Arsenal are boring, but we all know what we're watching. We're quite informed now. We have information, we have data, we can see the clips. I'm getting a bit bored.
We want to eat new meals.
Yeah, I'm just getting a touch bored, and it's time now. It's time for a bit of renewal up there. And when that comes in, I think our excitement levels will go through the roof. So that's where I am.
What do you think is more important, a new striker or a new left winger?
Um,
Obviously both, but where'd
yeah,
be the fun
obviously
in that if I
both.
ask you?
I've said this a million times. Apologies. I think the striker. Honestly, I like Sesko. If they go for Gyokeres because it's a better deal, I could live with it. I'm about to do a scouting video on Ollie Watkins shortly. I've just been looking at him. He knows what he's doing around the box. He runs in behind nicely. He's got smart movement. He'll get 15 goals. So we're going to get a striker. And any one of those three would work. You can choose. You can have your discussions. You can choose. On the left
Most
wing.
Arsenal fans probably pick Gyokeres. It's just a sexy
Yeah,
signing,
yeah,
and big money in that.
yeah. I went to Lisbon, saw him live. He's strong. He's a bit
Brute.
bullish. Yeah, he kicks the ball high. A little bit one-dimensional sometimes, but yeah, he was quick. He was moving. He's a bit like Delap, funny enough, a bit like that, but he's got more of a shot. But he's not afraid of playing against centre backs. Anybody, he'll take them on. So yeah, he's a good player. He would work for us, no doubt about it. Personally, I like Sesko a bit better. But on the left wing, though, mate, you tell me who you want. Tell me who would work. What style of player they would be. Because of the way we play, we ask a lot of that player. So
They got to go backwards a lot
they got to go backwards a lot.
and be willing to do it.
I'll use this example just to bring it to life, right? So when we signed Raheem Sterling, I thought, Raheem Sterling, we've sort of moved on from Reece Nelson, brought in Sterling. I thought, that's going to work. I'm not expecting a lot from him, 100 grand a week, same wage, no drama there. You'll be the lower down the edge, but come in late in games, be really sort of sharp. That will work. Well, it didn't work. And we ask a lot of our wide men. So when he's getting the ball, we could all see it wasn't going to work. And that feeling has not left me, right? So and so that player, although we critique Martinelli on occasions, we critique Trossard on occasions, they work up to a point, and this player needs to work. And I'm not sure which of that group will work. So I actually settled on no, I haven't settled on anybody. I change my mind all the time, right? So I went for Eze for a period as a left wing, and people said, Clive, he can't play left wing. What are you talking about? I went for Morgan Rogers as a left wing. Clive, he's a number 10. You can't have him out there. Rodrigo, well, he's not physical enough. Look at Miles did to him. Come on. Nico Williams. Well, Barcelona want him. We can't have him. Right? So Jamie Gittins, he's a bit quick, but he's raw, runs out the building, right, without the ball. And so
can't win, man.
You can't win. So if you can tell me who that player is, then I'm fine. So that's where my worry is, because I know that player is important and probably needs to be both-sided, but maybe not. So I don't know. I'm not sure which one it is. Someone just said there, Rodrigo. He's probably the one, and the reason why I think he might be the one is he's undiscovered on the left side. By that, everyone's looked at him.
Growing stature at Arsenal as well, man. Get out of the Madrid stuff.
New role, new position. You're the man. Create, shoot, score. Be a scoring wide man. And I think that's really important. But the creative side of his game will be the one. So Rodrigo's the one that I'm sort of on. But DG, mate, I don't want to kidnap people to come play for Arsenal. That's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. We shouldn't be kidnapping people. They should want to come.
That's why I checked out the Nico Williams stuff.
Yeah, they should want to come. And so that's where I am with it. So let's see how this plays out when Madrid are out there. See if he plays or not. So yeah, Rodrigo's probably the one. It's going to cost though, but I'm prepared to go for it. Because he's the best quality player.
I'm with you with that. Where are you at with Leao? Because a couple of people have commented that.
Yeah. I can see some things flying through. Yeah, so Leao's the one. If I didn't care about anything apart from having the best player, he is the one that's most exciting. So he's the one that if you look at it before you go to sleep on YouTube, you won't sleep.
Cage footballer.
Yeah, he's just got everything. But can we carry him? He's a bit of a walker. He walks about a bit, waves to his family in the crowd while everyone else is pressing. I'm not sure that's gonna quite work.
I'm not sure Arteta will go for it, let alone us.
I'm not sure that's gonna work. I remember just one time Raheem Sterling not working back, and everyone remembers it. So we don't realize how what our standards are. We are known as the best off the ball team in the world,
Facts.
right? And so
I think
that's the
we are.
game. That's the game, right? So can we carry someone like that? So despite my, you can't help but see him on occasions. I'm just not sure if he's quite the one.
And that's the thing, like it would be a shiny new toy, as you alluded to. I mean, he's exciting. On his day, it's great. But personally, I feel our squad has enough of players that on their day, they're good. Like the Martinellis, the Trossards, I've got love for them. I think they're
Yeah,
needed in the squad. If we want to kick on to another level, then we need people that provide that level of consistency like Bukayo Saka, or give us, it's obviously going to be adjusted up front, but I think our defenders or our defensive kind of
yeah,
unit is a lot more consistent. I don't think Leao would make sense. Great player, too hot and cold. For the money we spent, we're going to spend on him. And once we look beyond all of that, we're not getting, he flatters a lot more than he deceives. Of course, if he signs, I'll be excited. I'll back him all the way and all that kind of stuff. But then I have to ask you, like Rodrigo, we're going to see how that plays out. Nico
yeah,
Williams, it looks like he's going to Barca. Leao, I don't know how strong we're on that case. Those would be maybe quote unquote defined as, many people would say, like immediate level raisers. If we
yeah.
don't get those, then where do we look? Because then it's surely a case of the Malik Fofanas, the Gittins, and then many people say we need players right now. Those players could impact right now, but they're not quite there yet. So, like, if we can't get the Cat A targets, where do we go and how do we approach this?
Yeah, interesting. So I know Morgan Rogers is not a left winger per se, but I just like him as a footballer. If Aston Villa are looking a bit short of money PSR wise, there's opportunity that you go for it, but I think they'd sell anybody before they sell him, so that'll be one to look at. I like I know you know your players really well. I like the kid Nusa, the Norwegian lad who
Yeah,
played
he's
on
been
the
linked with
side.
us as well.
I quite like him, and when we were linked to Due, I remember thinking he looks nice. Obviously, he was always going to PSG. We just didn't know, and he went to PSG now. And look what he's doing right now. Nusa's got a bit of that about him. The way he moves with the ball, I quite like that.
Did well for Norway the other week.
Yeah, he really did. To come inside and finish like he did, I thought you've got something about you. So if we had to go younger, I quite like him. I quite like Gittins as well. I do think it needs to be somebody that can carry and dribble quite direct. I think Martinelli is more of a runner. I think he needs to improve his out to in runs off the side, running behind people. And also, by the
Facts.
way, we need to give it to him when he does it, so because sometimes he does it and his hands up in the air, doesn't get the ball. So I just want another carrier there that's a threat, that threatens the back line, that can run in behind but carry the ball there as well. But maybe has a DNA that says rather than provide, I'm trying to score.
And he's inevitable in that sense as well.
Yeah,
Because I feel
exactly.
Saka's got that inevitability. We need another one or
I
two.
love that word. Inevitability. I think if we can get that mindset, and I said that word mindset, and this is really important now, right? So if you think about everything, you think about the pressure that all of us are thinking about next year needs to be the one. We're thinking it as a group of fans. Every single media outlet is saying Arsenal need to win the league soon, or the manager's under pressure, right? So what the differentiator is going to be talent, but differentiator is going to be our mentality as a team. Have the players got the
1,000,000%.
mentality to handle the pressure that's coming their way? Because it's okay when you're trying to get to the mountaintop. When you're a young team doing well, surprising people. When we went for the Ramsdale White, Sleeper was young. Everyone was young, super young, 21. We were the Chelsea. When we come second when we were Chelsea last year, we came second with that average age. Right? So, but now everyone's used to us. They're a bit like, hey, you're not new anymore. It's about time you win something.
When are you going to get over the line if you're that
When are you
good?
going to get over the line? Now, what gets you over the line? Your
Quality,
mentality, your quality.
consistency.
There's no point in having these players if they're weak-minded. So that's going to be the differentiator. They can all play, but have they got the ability to play when they're under pressure? And I think that's the next step. And so when we're selecting people, you've got to have that mentality to be tip-top. And I wouldn't have said that 2 years ago. I was all about developing the players,
We're in
developing
a
the
different realm now.
principles. We're a different place now. People are literally expecting semi-final Champions League minimum and win the league.
Crazy.
So you
And
don't
now
do
with
that.
Liverpool winning the league, because that was something people said, if City ever fall off, we'd be the ones, which didn't happen. So now that's more pressure to Agent Point.
Exactly. So mentality is going to be important. We draw a game, the world's going to end. Next week, are you going to draw another game? Are you going to say no? We're not having that. We're going to re-step up again. You know,
Can't have 14 draws next year,
can't have 14
regardless
draws.
of why that happened.
And so yeah, and we can't have 14 draws, and we can't have draws from winning positions neither. But I remember
Exactly.
I remember 2-2 at home Fulham game a couple of years ago. That game, and I tried to brush it off. Actually, it was actually quite important.
Very significant.
Just a
in
drawn
hindsight.
game. Everyone went mad by that drawn game. And so we have to be really robust mentally to make sure those things don't happen. And so yeah, it's gonna be fun when it eventually starts, right? It's gonna be fun.
You know how it is, man. We're the best team in the world when we win. We're the most horrible team in the world when we lose, and we're everything in between. Everyone was pessimistic against Real Madrid, or most people. We beat Real Madrid, we can win the competition, and everything in between. But as Clive said at the beginning, unfortunately or fortunately, this is football. I want to kind of like ask you another question on the mentality thing, because it just made me think towards January, because as you said, when it's all fun and games when we're developing, the manager's new to this, the players are new. Obviously, last season we're in the thick of it, and I look at January and I think, how did the players feel? Because I know how Arteta felt, because he was very specific. He's normally very diplomatic, but he kept saying, "I want a striker, I want this and that." And I remember Rice saying, "I'm sure the club will bring players in. We're playing Tierney left wing." Do you think the people above maybe Mikel Arteta or anyone that's in charge of recruitment, do you think like they let us down, or do you think the players might have been looking at that and they might have thought, you know what, our small chances of winning silverware kind of gone really in January?
I think they definitely took a gamble on the players' health and fitness at the start
100%.
of the season. They definitely did. And to be honest, when I looked at the squad, I thought, yeah, we look a little bit short, but if everyone stays healthy, when I mean healthy, I'm talking the odd 3-week hamstring. It's not the end of the world. When you're having 4 months hamstrings, that's
when it's different.
that's the issue, right? So when Ben White has a little knock on the knee, that's fine. When he's out for 4.5 months, that's not so fine, and it has an impact on Timber, back off an ACL, playing lots of games. Now he's had an operation. Gabriel's had an operation. So the gamble on fitness and health didn't work. And when we got to January, you have to make a call. You have to show some fiscal discipline, or do I say go for the short term here? Again, the summer took away our options. By having 2 loan players in the summer, because we didn't quite organise ourselves properly with a backup goalkeeper, and we were kind to let Reece Nelson go, brought in Sterling late, 2 loans gone, trapped in those contracts, can't get a loan in January to maybe fix a hole that we had in the forward areas. We gamble away, go to Dubai. In Dubai, Havertz does his hamstring, and that's basically
Such is life.
That's basically the season right there. So we were definitely short, but I'm okay with showing discipline, because one of my lines, I got loads of lines, I'm like, a puppy's not only for Christmas, right? I don't want to be in a situation where Man United are, where
Like
they've
that.
got a Champions League squad, big wages, sitting there, people won't leave. And we were this team not long ago.
We had to
Waiting
rip
for
up a
them to
bunch of
leave.
contracts.
Yeah, waiting for them to leave to go on a free. I don't want to buy bad just because I had a feeling. Do you see what I mean? I don't want to do that. And if Havertz had stayed fit, who knows what would have happened? But he didn't stay fit. So if we show discipline, that's fine. Then you have to show me now in the summer. There is no debate.
Exactly.
And that's why I think there's some angst out there, even though the transfer window only opened yesterday. There's some angst out there. And early week of July, I'm sure we'll start to see some movement, and then we can all start looking at the videos of these players and getting excited and buying the shirts. That's how it'll work, right? We'll forget these moments.
I think you're bang on the money. That's such his life. Everybody's panicking. Oh my God, Verts is being signed. This is happening. And I get it. I definitely get it. But I'm choosing to remain calm, at least until September the 1st, because that's when you've left yourself nothing in it. That's when the window kind of shuts. But every day I am like, come on, man. Like, for all the talking about Sesko and Gyokeres, it'd be just nice to see we've signed one. What do you make of the mentality around strikers then, like with Sesko and Gyokeres? Because I did see a clip from you, and I think you were speaking in relation to Gyokeres, how you like his mentality, how he believes in himself. How big of a point is that for the incoming striker then? Because we have got strikers that scoring goals haven't necessarily been their strong point.
Yeah, so I think it's important in any sort of elite sport environment. You have to have a mentality to say, I'm here to compete. Right? So,
Exactly.
for example, Miles Lewis Skelly versus Calafiori. You know, when
The best
Miles got
example, to be fair.
when Miles got sent off at Wolves, he was devastated. He was even more devastated because Calafiori came on and scored the winning goal. Right, so I'm thinking, mate, Miles, you're 18, you're playing for Arsenal. Don't stress, mate. You'll get your time. But no, he wants that shirt. He wants it. He's prepared to do anything. You can see it in his game, can't you? And I want people like that because that's
Facts.
going to make Calafiori better. So rather than being discotheques, he needs to be running this summer to get fit. Because when he gets fit, he's a hell of a
Facts.
player. And so we're going to be better for it. So we need people who want to fight each other for that shirt. Not people say, oh, I don't want to come because I'm not sure I'm going to usurp Havertz. Well, no. You should come. And you should take him on because you're bigger, faster, stronger, and got a better shot. Why wouldn't you get that shirt over time? Do you see what I mean? You've got to have the
Million percent.
mentality. So I just wanted to put that out there. And Gyokeres is a bit more mature emotionally, and he's ready for the fight. Now I still want Sesko because I think he's more coachable, he's got more
I
to
think there's
grow.
a player in that guy.
Yeah, and but if the club do think he's not strong enough mentally and they go for Gyokeres, then I'm fine with that too. You know, because this is Arsenal, right? And our eyes are sharp on these players, right? So we need them to bring that mentality this time with them.
Do you think there's going to be an unfair amount of pressure on? Well, there's going to be pressure. We can hone on this pressure kind of talk. Do you think there's going to be a lot of pressure on the striker, regardless of where it's Gyokeres or Sesko? Because I do think most rational fans don't expect you to do what I'm about to say, but there is a feeling like over 38 games, you need to score 1,000,000 goals or you're in serious trouble. Like, do you think there's a big amount of pressure on their shoulders of whoever in comes to this football team?
I don't think so much for the centre forward, although there will be indirect pressure. But as long as we're scoring and winning, it'll be fine.
True.
We are 15, 20 goals, 15 goals down, right? So maybe 20. So we got to find out amongst the team. So I think we can, given the time that Saka and Havertz missed, Odegaard missed. We've got goals out there. So we might only need 10, 12 goals from that player. That's all we need. I think the unit is important. And I think the two signings are important. I think the left wing is a first 11 signing for me. You know, so
Facts.
the centre forward is just part of a group, but eventually will be the number one if you go for the
Exactly.
younger guy, right? So and I think Sesko's got the ability to be our number one in a couple of years' time, but there be no debate, you know. But he needs to spend time here and develop to do that, right? So yeah, and Havertz allows us time to do exactly that, and he is versatile, so it's not the end of the world. So we need to do it. It needs to happen. There is no excuses. January, I can take it because if you're gonna deliver in the
But you
summer,
have to deliver in summer.
but you have to deliver in the summer, and maybe losing our sporting director, having a new director, redoing some of the backroom recruitment staff. Maybe we just stalled for 1 year, but while we stalled, we come second and got to Champions League semi-final, and that was in a stall year. So now we need to rev up the engines again and go.
Exactly. There's no games being played. I got to ask you though, because when I try and fight, I like Gyokeres. I'd be happy with Gyokeres. I'm a big fan of Sesko, but there's always a rebuttal that is put my way when I speak about Sesko, away from the obvious. People, when I say, oh yeah, maybe in a year or two, not that he can't impact us immediately, but in a year or two he might be the guy. They always say, oh DG, we need to win now. Like it's a win now mode. We don't care about players like that. We're not in that realm anymore. Do you have any rebuttal to that? Because that is something that I must admit, when people ask me, I'm scratching my head, if I'm honest.
Yeah, so we all want to win now, right? So again, I went to the Emirates for the Women's Champions League games, right? And I go and watch the women's games, and it's a family day out. It's not as intense as the men's stuff, you know, but I really, really enjoy it.
We actually win stuff with the women as well, man. Shout out
Well,
them.
it works. We weren't expecting to win, and what it taught me was, and I was so emotional about it and so happy that they won, you know. And you do it. You talk to your audience. You have your channel. And we talk about the journey and the process and where we are, why we are where we are, what's happened in the last game, what's happening in the next game, and we talk about this journey all the way along. We're so wrapped up in the journey that we've actually forgetting what it's like to win, what that feels like,
Being in
and
the present.
being and so everyone wants the same thing. We all do. So everyone in your comments now, they all want Arsenal to be a bit better so we can win, right? So there's no guarantees we're going to win. So that's why we have to focus on how we're behaving to try to win. We stalled last year. The eyes are on us this year to make sure we're still progressing, still going forward, still seen as a serious threat, because our competitive landscape are going to get better, right? So there is no debate here. There is no choice. We have to do it. But no one can guarantee winning. You can't,
Just put your
right?
best foot
So
forward.
you just got to go, right? We haven't won the league for over 20 years. Think that through. We've only been in Champions League semi-final 3 times in our history. This is not easy to do, right? So, but we need to be trying. And we dropped off a bit last year, so we need to get back on it again. That's where I am.
I'm with you with that. You mentioned Berta, so it's a good segue into that. Like Andrea Berta, like what do you first thing I'd ask you is what do you think of the power dynamic between Arteta and Berta? If there is
Fine.
any.
Yeah, absolutely fine. All right. So I'm glad we went for somebody externally because I think he brings in new ways of working and different experiences that we can all leverage from. You only know what you know. If you're not exposed to different people, different ways of working, then how are you going to develop and learn? So to bring in new people into our internal executive group, I think was really important. Really important. And we might develop another way. If we get worse, delete that bit. But
We're in trouble, man, if that happens, God forbid.
We're bringing a guy in his 50s, experience in his field, and we should be better for it. But it's to be proven. I'll come back on in 5 weeks' time when we signed everybody, and I say, "Yeah, see, I told you." But at this moment in time, I don't know, right? So, and so I think it's important. Don't worry about the Gyokeres Sesko thing. We're a team of people there that are working their strategies. I think we have to allow ourselves time to learn how this guy operates in Berta. We think we know, but we don't know because this moment in time, he hasn't signed one person yet. And so he's going to be judged on his outcomes. He's going to be judged on who he signs. He's going to be judged on how he builds our current assets also, builds their value. People are not going to make it here. How are you going to loan them out? How's he going to build them? It's all part of the party, right? So I think that's how he's going to be judged. So at this moment in time, don't look for divisions. Try to learn how he's operating. And then the judgment and the measurement will be on who he signs.
Do you think he's got too much to do in essentially one window, like in terms of the outgoings, the new deals, the bringing in players, etc., etc.? Because it feels like he's got a lot to do. Like renewals, for example, fair enough. Magalhaes is done. We're hearing about Thomas Partey and Trossard, but then you've got the Sakas, the Salibas, so on and so forth. And we've been speaking about incomers for the best part of this show. Like, do you think he's got a lot to do in a matter of months, really, and a couple of months, better yet, Clive?
Yeah, I think he's got a lot. But I also think some of that was left. So for those guys who, worked in, I've worked in corporate environments my whole life, right? So when you're about to leave your job, you've normally left it a little while before. That means you're already thinking about leaving, right? So when you're an executive with a 6-month gardening leave period, exactly, Edu, he left. He's already leaving, right? So and so I think it's quite clear we needed some rejuvenation there, and so yeah, I'm just hopeful that we're on the right path again now. We're back aligned, but it's okay to have a dip. I can remember when Liverpool lost all their centre backs that year. They had to get Nate Phillips, or his name was, in January from Preston to play at centre back. They came fifth. Yeah, they came fifth that year. It all fell apart. They came fifth. It's what Man City have done to recover into the Champions League was good work, really good work. Look what Villa invested this January, made changes in the Champions League, got to a quarterfinals, did a great account of themselves, had a fantastic season. They're in the Conference League now, and Spurs are laughing at them. Lose 22 games, they're in the Champions League. How do you think they feel?
Life is crazy.
Now their progression is being threatened by financial regulation, they can lose some of their star players just because they didn't qualify for the competition that has the most revenue in it. So it's not perfect what we're doing. I'm not making excuses. But while we were flat, we are still there. 3rd year in the Champions League in a row. Last 4 in the competition. We didn't really compete in the league for long enough. But let's see what we can do now. Right, so
and that's what I'm on, Clive, because it's like I don't want to be disingenuous to Arsenal, and it's not to say we're the biggest and baddest and best in the world, but I genuinely feel in my heart, before I can look at congratulations to Liverpool for winning the league this year, or City in the previous other years, or whoever's won the champs. I've always left these, like in the Champions League when we've gone out, or however the league's panned out, I've always felt in my heart that we haven't controlled the controllables. We haven't, and I'm not saying it's easy, but we haven't maximized like our final form and how good we could be. And I see that as the biggest blessing, but the biggest curse. And I hope Berta can come in and do things. I do want to ask you about the Cronkies. Like, do you feel it's a bit unfair if people share the thoughts about Cronky out and the Cronkies don't want to win, etc.? Because on one hand, I can understand it, but then on the other hand, respectfully to Arteta, they betted on you when you had no real CV to get this role. Since they've taken like full ownership of the club, you've seen Declan Rice brought in, we've ripped up contracts. We have spent a bit of money. Now, am I saying it's the best? Am I saying they're perfect? Of course not, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the ownership.
It's very difficult with this sort of thing because when we talk about football, if I can say to you, DGR, the way we attack down the right-hand side, we do this, we do that, we roll, we have runners inside, we have third man runs. You can say, yep, Clive, but sometimes we do this, we do that. We can see it with our own eyes. You know, sometimes when you watch a game, you walk away with something. I might see something different to you, but it's all there. We can rewatch it again and we can see
your football.
We don't know what goes on in the mahogany rooms, mate. We don't know what's going on. Let's not pretend that we do. You know, let's not pretend we understand the financial regulation that we're working under. Let's not pretend we understand the 3 to 5 year roadmap. Let's not pretend we understand what we're going to do with our ground, for example.
Facts.
Yeah, what projects are in place. They live in the future. They don't live in this transfer window. They live 3 years down the road.
They're businessmen,
right? The Emirates deal ends in 2028. That's where their heads are. What do? We will make our ground a multi-purpose ground. What do we do? How's that happen? You know, so we have to almost stay in our lane. Almost, we can see the football. We can't see that. We don't know where they are. I've done some charity stuff for the Arsenal Foundation before. Not me on my own, but the whole podcast. We other podcasts. We raised some money, and I was fortunate enough to just meet Mikel Arteta briefly, just literally for a minute. And let me tell you and your audience, there is nobody that wants it more than him. Nobody here wants it more than him. The man is so intense. He made me almost scared of my own shadow.
That's like when I went to a press conference. That is one thing that hits you with Arteta. I hate to use like the words people are using, but there's like aura. Like he can command a room without speaking. Like he speaks with conviction. He just got something about him.
There's nobody wants it more than him. So don't think that they're doing this to you or against you. Right, they're just trying, right? So they're not trying to hurt us. They're not trying to hurt us. They're really trying hard, right? So and there were times in the past when I thought we were even trying, you know. And some
you're not alone.
There's some decisions lacked intelligence, you know, and medium to long term thinking. So we're now doing things correctly. We're now getting people through our academy. Our average age is good. Our squad value is really, really high, right? And our potential once we re-sign the key pillars of the group is massive. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. As long as we don't divide, right? And because people want to divide us big time, right? So because they know we're a threat. So.
Facts. And that's the thing, man. Division. I think I always say on my channel, I don't tell you what to think, just think. And I think many fans need to be level-headed. By all means, if there's things to be upset about, be upset. And if there's things to be good about, be happy about, be happy kind of thing. I think a lot of fans are frustrated. I think you can have legit question marks about Mikel Arteta's ability to get over the line and etc. But you don't need to make out he's a bad manager. If he was a bad manager, better yet, we wouldn't have done what we've done in the Champions League. We wouldn't be second. We wouldn't get all the ratings we get from actual people that work within football, whether they're being patronizing or not. That wouldn't be there. I do have to ask you though, like, Is there serious pressure on Arteta, in your opinion, to win a Premier League or win silverware? Because I always say in my platform, I ask everyone, if we had the same season in terms of where we finished in the comps this year coming, God forbid, would he necessarily get sacked? I'm not too sure.
I think it's important that we see progression, because I don't think we did last season in the same way. We saw some progression, but we didn't see enough. So for me, I don't want to say he's going to get fired, but I just want to see Arsenal compete. You know, I just want to see him compete. I think it's just so important that we keep competing at the top level and we don't lose any trust. You know, I think if you start to question and lose trust, and people, I saw one of your comments earlier said 70% of the signings were bad. I think that's just not
true.
That's just not true. You know,
we don't need to lie.
Over the last 3 years, look at our points we've collated, so they can't be all bad, right? So things like that, we just need to be intellectually honest about what we're seeing. I am.
People can't be honest, man.
I've said that we looked a bit boring on occasions this year. You know, I've explained why. It's not about it's being flowers all the time. There are things that are clear, but there are reasons why, right? So, and we need to do more. We need to make sure we excite people getting the top end of the pitch, and that's the next phase of our evolution. Let's get on with it, you know. And then the reason we can say that now, because we're not kicking the ball in our own net all the time. We've got a good set of defenders that are really strong, that anyone in the world would take. You know, Real Madrid would take
defensive partnership in the league.
Real Madrid would probably take 3 of our back 4 right now, right?
God forbid, but you're right.
Yeah, just take 3 of them, you know, and where else is there for them to go? You know, so don't grow. We've grown used to them, but I don't realize we need to realize how far we've come and where we're heading to, right? So, but we got work to do though. We can't sit here and roll out the same squad. That will not work for anybody.
And you're right, man. That is what we need to do. Why do you think, in your opinion, that like it appears that we're talking to Gyokeres, then talking to Sesko, then talking to Ollie Watkins? Like, do you think we're just playing them off each other? We're just keeping our options open, or like what? As I run through this briefly for you need to go.
Yeah. I think, like I say, we're learning about how he operates. At this moment in time, it's fun, right? If we don't end up with anybody,
if we get Watkins, question marks.
well,
because then you should have got him in Jan.
Yeah, my son said something the other day. I want the one that wants us the most. That's what I want.
You know what, your son? That's a great comment.
Yeah, he's like that, right? So I want the one that wants us the most, and sometimes it's that simple, you know. And so let's see.
I reckon that's probably Ollie Watkins, but I think Sesko's the one we get.
Yeah, hopefully.
Boy, it is what it is. Next one for you. Would you make? Well, we've gone over Nico Williams, in fact, and it's a non-starter. Anthony Gordon's an interesting one.
Yeah, I did. You know, the TalkSport show that we did, I did that last week, and I spoke about him. I can only say what I see, right? So I don't know if you went to a Newcastle game this season, the league game when we beat them 1-0. In that game, I had a good look at him, and he was, for part of that game, for the first hour of that game, he was outstanding. He ran us to death down that flank. You think about the away game, he set up the goal for Isak's header and the 1-0 win, and he's been a problem. Now, I think
he wants to a lot of times.
Yeah, I think he wants to go to Liverpool. That's what I think he really wants to do. Yeah, and his best mate's Curtis Jones. He wants to be with him. He wants to play for Liverpool. But I can't help but say, you know, Semenyo, when I saw him, when he came on Bournemouth home game, looked powerful, looked really strong, looked a threat, you know. And but Gordon has been really good. So those two have impressed me this year. Obviously, the PSG boys weren't bad, but those two have impressed me this year the most. So, yeah, I don't dismiss it if it would work, but I don't think it's going to happen, you know. But I just want to say that he's a talented player, really is. But sometimes, much like Nico Williams, you want them to be where they want to be. Nico Williams wants to play for Barca. Why are we taking him? You know,
it's not making sense.
Gordon wants to go to Liverpool. That's who he is. He's a Liverpool person, right? He wants to be there. If they get rid of Diaz at some point, that's where he wants to go. So
and he fit them like a glove, to be fair.
Absolutely fit them. And so sometimes you're almost happy for them to be where they want to be because it's a short career, right? So that's where I am.
You're bang on the money. My last one for you then. Do you have any real? Obviously, you're not an ITK. You don't work for Arsenal, but do you have any real hope we get Rodrigo?
Yeah, I do. Based on the fact we asked questions about him in January, and Madrid said no, we can't replace him. Right, so that's out there. That's been reported. So yeah, this is not just out of the blue. These things never are. Right, so these clubs talk all the time. Right, so of all the ones, he's probably the one. But he's also the one that I've actually seen live against Miles, and it weren't pretty. Right? So
Miles is a difficult player. We'll have to allow him for that.
Miles is not. He ain't messing about. Right? So
he's definitely not built as an 18-year-old. I don't know what Miles has been eating, but he's
no. He just looks at him and said, "Well, where do you think you're going?" That's the end of that competition. So we never got a chance to see him on the away from Miles, and because we got good defense, right? So on the right back on that home game, Timber was as good, So sometimes you don't realize what you have, right? So, but Rodrigo will be the one.
I mean, I hope you're right. I want Rodrigo. I feel a lot of dominoes need to fall. I don't think we're going to learn anything until after the Club World Cup, or Rodrigo makes it evidently clear I want to leave, or Real Madrid make it clear I want to sell. But I hope we can sign him. All I care about is that we have an ability to pivot him, which based on reports, it seems Berta has. Clive, before I let you get out of here, first thing I'm going to say is thank you for doing this. It's been a fantastic chat. Please let people know where they can find you.
Oh, right. I just do a few things. Arsenal Vision is what I normally do. Yeah, Arsenal Vision is what I normally do. So yeah, we do that I do that most days actually. So yeah, a few other little things, talk sport and a few other bits and pieces. But yeah, to keep my head down talking football. That's it.
He's far too humble, man. Make sure you're following him on all of his platforms. Everything will be in the description. It's nice to have balanced Arsenal fans that can talk about the good, the bad, and everything in between without doing the most, man. Clive, we're going to have to do this again. I know you got to rush off, so I'm going to love and leave you. People, like, comment, subscribe. Clive, God bless you, man. In a bit.
Thank you very much. And thanks to your audience. And there's some nice things in there and some smart people. So thank you very much.
Come on. In a bit, people. Always